and welcome to heaven.
Heaven? Why is that?
Heaven, Greg, because here at Timaru's Levels Raceway, it's pretty obviously a piece of paradise for any V8 touring car fan. We've got 30 cars on the grid for the Parker NZ V8 Touring Car Championship at this opening round of the Mike Perro Motorsport Series. I'd call that heaven. Also, we had Kane Scott yesterday get to the top of the timesheets, even against some of those really experienced V8 touring car drivers. And I'd have to say, Greg, that really is a pretty impressive performance from them.
Fantastic result, especially on the fact that he went off the circuit on Friday while testing after a broken steering rack, and to come back after, the crew worked all night on the car, got the car back on the track, and to get pole position was just a fantastic result. And he's not the only rookie to perform really well. Angus Fogg, second meeting in the new Commodore. We've got Michael Shepherd, 11th in the Ford Falcon, and Damon Templeman, first time out in the Commodore, back in 13th place. Fantastic result for those guys.
Sure. So as I was saying, a piece of paradise. We've got the new boys in the class, we've got the new Falcons, the new Commodores. Really, what more could you want? The off-season changes to the Parker NZ V8 touring car scene start with updated cars. Most of the field now in BA Falcons or VY Commodores. And in the interests of making an intensely competitive class even closer, there's a smaller capacity engine for the Holdens and standardised front track dimensions for the two mates. This to help the Ford suspension package. There are major changes too in the driver lineups. The V8 Tourer field growing this summer to 36 registered cars, evenly split between Falcons and Commodores. V8 Tourer rookies this year range from 19-year-old Jared Carlisle, straight out of karting, to Kane Scott, at 35, one of the most accomplished tin-top drivers on New Zealand's domestic motor racing scene. After managing only an 8th and a 4th at the Parker NZ Champs opener, Scott left the Pukekohe V8 supercar meeting more than worried.
I can't repeat those thoughts. That was a tough weekend for us, because we've got as greater expectations or desire to do well as anybody has in any class. And we took a fair old trailing.
The team went into a bout of serious testing, but improvements to the performance of its Commodore still haven't come easy.
One of the things that's extremely frustrating for us is it doesn't tend to matter what we change. It doesn't tend to make a lot of difference. So the guys are telling me just to stop my moaning and get on with it,
There's another much experienced new boy to the class who took 2 third places at his Pukekohe debut, former mini star and 2-litre tourer racer Angus Fogg. He's third in the standings coming to Timaru, and now with enough backing to see out the season.
When we came into it, we didn't have any budget at all, really, but fake it till you make it, and thanks to all my sponsors that have come on board, and we look like we're going to be able to do the whole season now. It's sort of still on a shoestring, but enough to get the job done, I hope. So.
Then there's fresher talent from other classes, even other forms of motorsport. Like Nelson driver Craig Boot, already famous in motorsport of this kind. The 38-year-old is a triple New Zealand stock car champion.
Yeah, I think, this year's going to be a learning curve naturally. There's some high-class guys out there, and it's been quite a shock for me. I thought I would do better than what I have. We're going to give it a 3-year hard try and see how we come out after that. But this year will be a trial, and we'll try and get up into that midfield and move up towards the front and charge on hard in the following 2 years after that.
Double Formula First champion Michael Shepherd's also made the radical change. And another joining the V8's is reigning Super GT champion Hayden McKenzie. And former single-seater racer turned rally driver Slim Templeman, among others. As for the established stars, a crash at Pukekohe leaves reigning champion Mark Pedersen way back in the standings and struggling.
When we come down, we're full of optimism because we thought we've done this and that and the car should be competitive, but all the Fords are all suffering, from the same problem, and it's actually quite good because all the Ford drivers have got together and we're all trying different setups and different sessions and, seeing what works and what doesn't work. It's one track now for Holden and Ford, so what it means is that we've no longer got any excuses. We've said they've had this and they've said we've had that, so they've got the engine, now we've got the suspension, so it's up to us to utilise what we've got and make it work so we can get back on top of it again.
The Ford man doing the business so far is wildman Dean Perkins, the current points leader.
You know, I like to think we're staying at the top of the ladder as far as the forwards go, but I think that it's going to be hard work with the Holden's going to make it hard work.
Yeah.
They think the narrowing of the front track has helped them. Falcons, the BAs seem to still have a little bit of a front end problem, so I think we're still struggling a little bit.
Regardless of the pros and cons, 99 champion Paul Pedersen's committed to just getting on with it.
Well, I think it's, you know, I'm here to drive a car and get the best out of what we've got. So the parity issue with the Holdens and the Fords is a good thing, because obviously that's all political. But hey, when I get to put the helmet on and drive the car, we'll sort the bullshit out then. But the Fords are a good package, you know, very good package. We just need to learn some more about them, and you know, the cars are totally different to what they were last year. Totally different.
Team Kiwi Racing has another strong driver lineup. The returning Andy Booth now joined by the promising Nick Ross.
What do you reckon for this year? What have you set yourself as your aims?
Championship.
Needless to say.
Yeah, it's a long road, but we'll do our best, and top 3 at least we want before the end.
I mean, my expectations are the same as every season. You come in expecting to win, but hey, this is going to be a seriously tough year. You know, you've got some big new names joining the field, with like Kane, and all the big guns from the last 2 years back again with bigger, improved campaigns.
After a 2003 season dogged with bad luck, Christchurch driver Wade Henshaw's hoping for much, much better.
Like we left the last meeting last year with the fastest Holden. We were quickest Holden. So I think the previous 2 years the Fords have had their money, had the run. So hopefully now it's time for Holden to have a go. You know, they make more noises than we do about when they're not winning. But yeah, it's our turn. It's Holden's turn.
2000 champion Paul Manuel has come a long way since his South Island V8 Tourer campaign was financed by donations from his mates gathered at an Auckland fundraising party.
I think we raised about 5 or 6 grand back then, and we'd be lucky to start the motor for that now.
Now he has serious support from sponsor Oryx and the pressure to perform that goes with it.
Yeah, the pressure's there, but we dwell on it. You know, it's pressure's good. That's what motor racing's all about. We've got a great bunch of sponsors. Oryx are so proactive. It's, you know, we love it.
Along with the Oryx effort, new or improved sponsorship deals are making Flash transporters, team uniforms and demo cars the norm. And the class has spawned a new sponsor for the overall summer series, V8 driver and team owner Mike Perro. So Mike, is this a case of the competitor who liked the series so much he bought it?
You could say that we've had a tremendous run with our own racing team, and the results have been good commercially. They've been excellent for our company, and so yeah, exactly that. We took the series.
The Perro team has been a leader in the V8s in terms of setting a professional standard.
Yeah, a lot of teams have followed what we've done over the last couple of years, and it's excellent. It's helped everyone. The whole field has raised the professional standard, and now companies and multinational companies can see the value of being involved in motorsport. So we're very proud to have taken the naming rights.
Welcome to Timaru Motor Raceway. Coming down to the start-finish line here, we're in third gear, braking at 90 metres into the easters. You want to just squeeze the power on here. The car wants to lurch and dive everywhere. Now this corner is really important. Into first gear just to help the car change direction. Squeeze on the throttle, short shift into second, and you want to carry the speed all the way down the straightaway. So it's really important to get out of there without too much wheel spin. Into fourth gear, but you're only in fourth gear for a short time, and it's back down 2 gears for the one of the trickiest corners, because it tightens up at the exit. So you've got to just nurse the car in there. The car will be all loose. Attacking the next corner into the sweeper. Now this corner here, you've really got to nurse that right front tyre, because it's a double apex and the car just really wants to lean on that right front tyre. Okay, coming around into the hairpin, this is the slowest corner of the track. You've got to just keep a nice tight line on the exit, because you've got a left-hander straight afterwards. And the car wants to wheel spin, really gets loose out of here, but you've got to be important to carry that speed onto the front straight. And that completes the lap at Timaru Motor Raceway and the Mike Perro Mortgages V8 Commodore.
Kiwi Racing's Andy Booth comes into this V8 touring car season with a reputation as a kind of boyish-faced hard man.
Yeah, I did seem to become the bad boy of V8 racing last year, and it certainly wasn't deliberate. I spent my whole career sort of trying to be the nice guy, but somehow trouble followed me, and the reputation grew. But yeah, definitely trying to come into this year and concentrate on accumulating points and having clean races. And hopefully a more competitive Holden package this year will mean that we don't have to put ourselves in situations where we get into trouble on the track.
Yeah.
On last season, yeah, there's probably a couple of defining points where had I just stayed in the position that I was in the race and collected the points, I could have won the championship. Instead, the racer in me took over and I went for gaps, and I was the king of the drive-through penalties last year, and you know, it cost me an awful lot of points. And perhaps going back to the start of the season, nothing that we probably could have changed, but it would have been nice to not start the season with a failure in the endurance race and come away with no points because we were on the back foot straight away.
The New Zealand Grand Prix winner says this V8 scene is much tougher.
You know, in the Formula Holden, in the Grand Prix days there, you had 3, maybe 4 very competitive cars and drivers at the front battling it out, and it was very, very cutthroat amongst those drivers, but then it died away. Here, you've got a top 10 that anyone on their day is going to come up and vie for the race win.
And determination this year to get the championship, I guess that's paramount, eh?
Absolutely. You know, I think if we'd come into my first year in the championship 2 years ago a little more prepared, it was a deal that happened 2 weeks before the first round, I think we could have had a chance of really winning the championship then. And last year, you know, we were always battling hard against the extra power of the Fords last year, and late in the season I made some dumb mistakes that basically took the championship out of my grasp, so determined to win it this year.
Yeah.
Race time now then for the first of their Parker NZ V8 touring car races here at Timaru. Kane Scott leading this big field around. That is the super cheap car, the number 99 Holden Commodore. And there is the man who's joined this class, former Trans Am champion, bringing a lot of class to this field.
Back further down the field in 25th place, here's David Parsons. His view for the race will be quite unique. He'll have all the action unfolding in front of him.
And a man who's halfway between them, this is Paul Pedersen, who will be travelling on board with as well. He's starting in 8th place.
Here's Mark Pedersen, United Video Falcon. He's up near the front of the field in 7th place. Again, expect some action on this first corner from him.
Well, I don't know where you'd pick to be in this field, but here's the starting lineup. Kane Scott in the number 99 car alongside Andy Booth on the front row. Then it's Angus Fogg and Paul Manuel. So all Holdens up front.
5th on the grid, Nick Ross in the second Team Kiwi car, followed by the first of the Ford Falcons, Dean Perkins. Last year's champion, Mark Pedersen, in 7th, followed by Paul Pedersen.
In 9th place, it's Brady Kennett and yet another Falcon alongside Wade Henshaw. Then it's Michael Shepherd and Andrew Anderson, 11th and 12th.
In 13th, we've got Danum Templeman, first time out in his Commodore, followed by Adam Brook in his Falcon. 15th, Andrew Fawcett, and then 16th, Michael Tom.
In 17th place, it's the man out of Dunedin, Michael Wallace and his Rock FM Commodore, alongside Rob Lewis. Then it's David Thexton in the Falcon, alongside Jared Carlisle in another Ford.
In 21st place, we've got rising star Dale Lambert in his Falcon, followed by ex-stock car champ Craig Boot in his Falcon, Grant Shivers in the Commodore, and Mike Perro in 24th place.
In 25th place, it's David Parsons in the first of the Cat Falcons, alongside Hayden McKenzie in his Ford. Then 2 more Fords, Clark Proctor, ex-stock car man, and Ashley Hall.
And filling out the field in 29th place, we've got Julia Hussif in her Commodore, followed by Aaron Harris in his Commodore.
Just about race time now, travelling on board with Paul Pedersen. This is in 8th place on the grid, so got quite a bit of traffic ahead of him. There's the Mazda RX-8 pace car pulling into the pit lane. So we're about to get a start here in Timaru with the Parker NZ V8s. Kane Scott bringing them down. Of course, there's this really nasty little tight right-hander that follows the start-finish line, so it's expected to be all action. Coming down there, Kane Scott grabs the lead away. That's what we expected. And look out behind, plenty of action. Cars going every which way. Boys cutting straight across the infield there. Quite a few of them. There's so much dust kicked up everywhere.
No place to go there. The real squeeze was on. On board with Dean Perkins now. He seems to have got clear of the first few corners, looking to make some ground now.
Kane Scott with Andy Booth tucked up right behind him. Then it's Angus Fogg and Paul Manuel behind him. Travelling on board with Mark Pedersen. Someone steps off the side. They're pretty loose. Not sure who that was, but look at the dust kicked up on this very, very dry South Canterbury layout around the Timaru track. David Thexton travelling on board with him. He goes through a cloud of dust. Someone else has gone off. Mike Wallace, I think it was, as he flashed by on the right.
Another one off, Julia Hussif. She's been caught up in that same dust problem by the looks.
Kane Scott, though, no problems whatsoever for him. And look at that. He's just eking out a little bit of a gap there at the end of this first lap. So he's got a little bit of a break on Andy Booth, who's being dogged, you'd have to say, completely by Angus Fogg, really hounding him in the number 11 Commodore.
Now, this will be an interesting battle because these two have a contrast of driving styles. Andy's very, very tidy from a single set of racing days, but Angus has got that wild sort of loose approach. So it'll be interesting to watch.
Looking at a replay, this view from Michael Tom's car starting back in the pack. Very, very busy as we saw. Oh, look at this. I think that's Grant Shiver suddenly slides on past him there on the inside. There is Slim Templeman on the outside in the orange Commodore. Very busy. And here's the view from David Thexton's car. He takes to the infield straight away. And there's Dale Lambert gets past him in the Magan Turbo car, one of the Caltex Aveline cars, and who knows who else, because he's in the thick dust right off the side as a Hayden McKenzie gets him.
Now, this is why you see it's so important to qualify well here, Wayne. I mean, these guys are really struggling to get through these first few corners.
That was David Parsons' view we were just looking at there, but out front, Kane Scott getting the job done. And Andy Booth really taking the pressure on that Kiwi racing car with Angus Fogg trying to come down the inside. Very, very tight.
Now, this is an interesting situation because while these two are fighting like this, it allows Kane to get away.
Someone stepped off the edge of the track there, not sure who that was. So he's been dropped off that front-running train.
And the other thing that Angus has got to be careful with is you're always getting a bit of heat in the back tyres, and that'll make it harder for him to keep the car straight.
So Andy Booth just guarding the line. Working that Team Kiwi racing car. He seems to be a young man who, as we said in the, oh, look at this. We've got Paul Manuel who's been off the track. So he's got troubles. This is one of the stars of the V8 touring car scene. Paul Manuel in trouble already.
Looking now at Mark Pedersen. Fierce battle locked in here with Paul Pedersen. I think that's Wade Henshaw in behind him. Battle for 6th place.
So Pedersen doing a good job travelling on board with Paul Pedersen, that is, in the Caltex Aveline car. He's back in 7th place, trying to put the pressure on Mark for that place. Here's the lead. Kane Scott stretching it out just a little bit now and leaving Andy Booth for his fight, and a second fight between Nick Ross and Dean Perkins. Then we have the Pedersens behind them in the United Video Falcon first.
And in behind that, we've got Wade Henshaw and the Commodore. Interesting to note here, the top campaigners are all the ones that were running at the front last season except for Kane Scott.
Yeah, what an exception that is, but this fight is a good one going on here, that's for sure. Paul Pedersen in the number 96 car, just nosing right under that Falcon's rear wing. Travelling on board with Dean Perkins.
Now look at the style here. He's got those elbows out. He could be riding a motocross bike, Wayne.
Yep, well, he's only a little guy, but he is well used to muscling these big cars around. Comes from a long line of V8 races, that man.
Tight battle still going on here for 5th place, but what we're seeing now is the cars just starting to get a little bit further apart, allow them to get into their right proper race pace.
Brady Kennett joining the back of that queue as well, right in behind Wade Henshaw, as they take to this long back straight here at Timaru, but it's Henshaw, the man trying to put the move on Paul Pedersen right now.
Further back in the pack, David Thexton putting the move on Grant Shivers into the S. Is he going to? No, he didn't do it this time. As the squeeze comes on, maybe he can have a go into the back straight. Watch him as we go into the next corner.
This is through the loop. Quite a difficult corner as well onto the back straight. Meantime, up front, this is where the big fight's been going on for places from about 4th on back, it looks now. The line's forming up behind Mark Pedersen in that 027 Falcon.
These guys are the main contenders for the championship, and there's a lot... Now, that was naughty.
Just a little tap and turns him around, or turns him half around, and look at that, he's lost about 5 or 6 places just in that one hit. Here comes the replay view from Wade Henshaw's car right in behind Paul Pedersen. You can see the waggle of the Caltex Aveline car as the contact was made on the Falcon ahead.
Now, I'm sure that just came about through just a bit of frustration early on. These guys need to settle down a wee bit, I think, Wayne.
Kane Scott, though, looking very, very settled out front Onto the loop off the front straight. Here's Brian Locke, one of the transport officers here, clocking the cars coming through on that little short start-finish straight. 183k, very quick.
Very quick. Yesterday I heard that Kane Scott was getting 209k down the back straight. Gives you an idea how fast these cars really are.
Well, we're talking 183 on what is a very, very short length of track, that's for sure. Look at this, Angus Fogg now all over the Andy Booth car. So he's trying to move on up as well.
Well, these two have been battling right from the start, and I think Angus will be just sitting there waiting and hoping that Andy Booth will make a mistake.
Well, Booth hasn't been known to make too many, although last year what he did get into trouble a lot for was contact with other cars. Reckons that this season he is going to be much more conservative. Unlike David Parsons' approach to the S's, dive straight in there. It was never going to happen.
Trying to make up for some lost time, I think. Here it is from in-car.
Onboard view.
Too quick into the corner, on the power too quick. I'm lucky he didn't hit anything, that's all I can say.
Now approaching the same spot, Nick Ross in 4th place, leading Dean Perkins, and just behind them, Wade Henshaw, tracking Paul Pedersen it will be.
Now, the nature of the Timaru track means it's very difficult to overtake once you're on that race pace. You've really got to look for someone to make a mistake.
Julia Huzov in the foreground there, about to get lapped by the race leader, Kane Scott coming through. Still this fight for 2nd place, Andy Booth versus Angus Fogg. Those two have got a good break, though, on the next guys behind them.
Yes, this is where the race is at the moment, and I think all eyes are on this battle. It'll be just interesting to see if Angus can really pressure him into just one small mistake. That's all it takes.
He's really been trying. I mean, he's had that pressure on right from the start of the race, and so far no signs of buckling from Booth, that's for sure. But lap traffic, of course, can play a part. Up front, though, Kane Scott doing the job perfectly. Back at Timaru, midway through this first Parker NZ V8 touring car race, Kane Scott in charge out front. There he is. Big fight still going on behind for 2nd place between the 021 car of Andy Booth and Angus Fogg, tucked up right behind him, as he has been right from the start of the race.
Now, lap traffic will come into play very shortly as these guys catch up to the tail enders. This being a tight-natured track will make it a little bit more interesting for that fight for the top places.
Mind you, it looks like Booth has got just a little bit of breath of fresh air right behind him there as they went down the back straight that time.
Here we go with Dean Perkins again. Now, it's interesting if you listen to the exhaust note on the car here, feathering that throttle, just lots of throttle control. So important on this track.
Well, this track is typified by some as being like a little kart track. It is an exceptionally difficult place to get around. Really neat track. Very, very fast back section. Fast left-hander off it. And then some really tight stuff on the infield, including this hairpin.
Here we go into the hairpin now. And out of it now as he comes into the left-hander. Here he is feathering the throttle. Outside now from the outside of the car. Dean Perkins on a mission.
So he's back in 4th or 5th place. 5th place, in fact. There's still Nick Ross ahead of him in the other Team Kiwi racing car.
Here we got Dean Perkins using the rumble strip. Best of the Ford races at the moment in 5th place.
But only just, because Paul Pedersen right behind him. This is Parsons calling into the pit lane. So looks like he's a casualty as well in the mid stages of this race.
Yes, I'm wondering whether it's been through some contact or maybe when he went off track before caused some damage.
Team waiting there to check it out. So the Cat Falcon, one of the 2 Cat Falcons anyway, out of the race. Out front, Kane Scott still doing the business, opening up a good gap now on 2nd place, Andy Booth, and you can see his teammate quite a way back as well from Angus Fogg, so quite big gaps opening up in this top area of the field.
Nick Ross doing a great job though. 2nd Team Kiwi car, first time in Team Kiwi this season. Great job.
Great job too from this man, Andy Booth, still holding off Angus Fogg, putting the pressure on, but an even better job being done by Kane Scott.
Let's look at his car here through these next series of bends. As you can see, while he's driving it very, very well, the car seems to be very stable. A lot of testing being done on the car prior to this meeting, and it's really paying off for him.
Yeah, interestingly, though, the Petch team was saying they weren't happy with the car. On board with David Thexton, that's Dale Lambert off the edge of the track.
Pushing a bit hard there, Dale Lambert, and just paying the price.
Very, very competitive back here too. You can see with 30-odd cars in the field, Lambert stepping off the edge again. He's trying to put an attack on somebody. Can't quite pick up who that is. Michael Tom up ahead of him. Well, that's who it was. Jared Carlisle, and he gets pushed right off the edge of the track for his trouble.
Welcome to V8 touring cars for Jared. He'll finding it the hard way. From behind, getting pushed back in front.
Rejoins now beside Grant Shivers, but he's lost quite a few places on this last lap it is of the race as Kane Scott comes around now. The race leader about to become the race winner, coming through to take the checkered flag in that super cheap car. What a bounce back from a pretty ordinary debut at Pukekohe, and now the 5-time Trans Am champ becomes a race winner in V8s as well.
Great to have that under his belt, and he'll be looking forward to the next 2 races, especially being on top and being in pole position.
Kane, a perfect start to race day.
Fantastic, isn't it? Gee, these things are sort of growing on me now, and of course with a reasonable result, we're just over the moon.
Tell us about the start. You brought the field down pretty slowly.
We sort of talked that amongst a few of us here, and you know, it's a big field, and I think the sort of slower speed just allows everyone to get through there without incident.
And under a little bit of pressure at the end there from Angus.
Yeah, he's pretty entertaining to watch in your rear view mirror. He's a pretty wild unit, but you were suffering with a lot of oversteer right from the start of the race, which was letting Angus get up to me in certain parts of the track, and I was just trying to be as defensive as I could and hold on to that second place.
Angus putting a lot of pressure on Andy Booth.
That was the idea. I couldn't quite get him. I had a bit more mid-race pace than he did, and especially over the back of the circuit. But any passing manoeuvre that I was going to try was going to end in tears, so I thought it was better to be third than nothing. So just held fire there and wait for the next 2 races.
Mark, you lost some time in that race with an incident.
Yeah, you know, unfortunately we have a bit of a handling problem with the car, and Paul, we've got a bit of a run up on us, and we just had to back off the throttle and he tagged the back of it, which puts us in the grass. But
confirming the win then by 3.5 seconds, Kane Scott over Andy Booth. Angus Fogg coming home third. Then it's Nick Ross, Dean Perkins and Paul Pedersen.
In 7th, Wade Henshaw. Andrew Anderson in 8th. Brady Kennett in 9th. 10th, Adam Brook. Mark Pedersen in 11th, followed by Michael Shepherd.